You know, your home's air conditioner is one of the most expensive and, let's be honest, complex machines you own. But most of us, we only think about it when it breaks. So today, we're going to head to one of the absolute harshest environments for any HVAC system to see what its constant battle can teach every single one of us about keeping our homes cool and our wallets safe. And it all kicks off with one single, incredibly frustrating question.
Oh, we've all been there, right? It's the absolute peak of a heat wave, the house feels like an oven, and then, suddenly, silence. The AC is dead. It feels like the worst luck you could possibly have. But what if I told you it's not just bad luck? It's actually the predictable outcome of a year-long war being waged both inside and outside your home.
To really understand this war, we're going to use Pinellas Park, Florida as our case study. I want you to think of this place as a boot camp for air conditioners. Seriously, if a system can survive here, it is tough. And the lessons we learn in this gauntlet, they apply to your system no matter where you happen to live. Okay, think about this for a second. Most HVAC systems, they get a break. They get downtime. In Florida, they just don't. This isn't a sprint, it's an ultra-marathon with no finish line in sight. This relentless, non-stop runtime puts an incredible amount of wear and tear on every single moving part, from the fan motor all the way to the compressor.
See, your AC isn't just a cooler, it's a massive dehumidifier. And in a place with 90% humidity, that's pretty much its main job. We're talking about pulling gallons, literally gallons, of water out of the air every single day. This whole process creates a constant flow of condensation that puts a huge, huge strain on the system's drainage components.
And then there's the invisible enemy, salt. You can't see it in the air, but trust me, it's there. And it's acting like a constant acid bath on your outdoor unit. It just eats away at the metal coils, the refrigerant lines, the cabinet, basically waging a constant chemical assault that dramatically shortens its lifespan.
So when you add it all up, the constant heat, the heavy-duty water removal, and the salt corrosion, the conclusion is pretty simple. These systems are just fundamentally under way more stress. And that's not an opinion, it's just physics. And all that extreme stress, well, it leads to some very predictable failures.
All right, so if Florida is our crime scene, let's take a look at the evidence. When a system breaks down under this kind of pressure, there are three components that fail way more often than any others. Let's investigate the usual suspects.
The first, and by far the most common point of failure, is the capacitor. Now, the easiest way to think about a capacitor is that it's like the starter for your car's engine. It provides that big jolt of electricity needed to get the powerful compressor and fan motor spinning. Without it, your system just kind of hums. We can't get going.
And the impact here is just staggering. In a normal climate, a capacitor might last a decade, but in the extreme heat of Florida, that lifespan gets cut in half or even more. The constant demand and high temperatures essentially cook the capacitor from the inside out. It weakens and eventually fails, and a lot of the time it takes other more expensive parts with it.
Hey, remember all those gallons of water we were talking about? Well, it has to go somewhere. It drips down into a pan and then flows out through a drain line. But that dark, damp pipe is the absolute perfect environment for algae and all sorts of sludge to grow.
And this right here is where an HVAC problem becomes a major house problem. Because when that line gets clogged, the water backs up and it overflows. This can lead to thousands of dollars in damage to your ceilings, your walls, your floors. In a high humidity climate, this isn't some rare event, it's a constant threat that needs regular maintenance. All right, let's clear up a huge myth right now. Your AC does not use up refrigerant like a car uses gas. It's a closed, sealed system. So if your refrigerant is low, it means you have a leak, period. And this brings us right back to our invisible villain. That's salt air. It creates these microscopic pits and cracks in the copper and aluminum lines. So the refrigerant leaks out, your system can't cool effectively. And even worse, it can starve the compressor, the heart of the system, of the oil it needs, causing it to completely burn out. And that's a catastrophic failure.
So your system breaks. A tech comes out and gives you a pretty hefty repair estimate. And now you're faced with what is probably the toughest decision any homeowner has to make. Do you repair the aging system, or do you just bite the bullet and replace it?
First, let's just set some expectations. While a system might last 20 years in a really mild climate, the average lifespan in a harsh environment like Florida is only about 12 to 15 years. The constant wear and tear simply shortens its life. And just knowing that is the very first step in making a smart financial choice.
This brings us to a really practical tool called the $5,000 rule. It's a simple formula to help take the emotion out of the decision. You just take the age of your system in years and multiply it by the quoted repair cost. So for example, let's say you have a 12-year-old system with a $500 repair bill. You multiply 12 by 500, which equals $6,000. Since that number is over $5,000, the rule suggests that replacement is probably the wiser investment.
You know, it really boils down to a core trade-off. Repairing is cheaper right now, sure, but you're basically gambling that another old part isn't going to fail next month. Replacing costs more upfront, but you're buying reliability, a brand new warranty, and years of lower energy bills from a much more efficient machine. The $5,000 rule just helps you calculate the odds.
Okay, so whether you repair or replace, you want the job done right. Of course you do. But how can you, as a homeowner, tell the difference between a great contractor and one who's, well, cutting corners? It's actually simpler than you might think.
Here is the single most important thing to understand, so listen up. Forget the brand names for a minute. The best, most expensive air conditioner in the entire world will fail if it's installed improperly. A basic, reliable unit installed by a master craftsman will outperform it every single time. Installation is everything.
So what does quality work actually look like? Well, a real pro won't just guess the size of the unit you need. They'll do a manual J calculation that considers your windows, insulation, your whole layout. They will absolutely meet local energy codes. They'll test your ductwork for leaks that are just wasting your money. And, this is a big one, it's non-negotiable, they will pull a permit for the work. A permit protects you because it ensures a third-party inspector verifies the job was done safely and correctly.
You know, knowledge is power. We've seen how the environment attacks your system, we know what quality work looks like, so now let's assemble your toolkit, a set of simple questions that will empower you to make great decisions and hire the right people.
Here it is. This is your script. These 5 questions will tell you everything you need to know. The only correct answer to question 1 is a manual J-load calculation. The only correct answer to question 2 is an immediate yes. And asking about duct tests, warranties, and maintenance plans, it shows you're an informed customer who expects professional work. Bad contractors will get defensive. The good ones will be happy to explain their entire process.
And that really brings us to the final thought. The lessons from Florida's HVAC gauntlet are becoming more and more relevant everywhere. As climates change, our home's cooling and heating systems are being put under greater stress than ever before. Understanding how they work, why they fail, and what quality service looks like, well, it isn't just about saving money. It's about ensuring your home remains a safe, comfortable sanctuary for years and years to come.